actually worked with Ed Denton and in Lompoc for about 7 months. And then I spent the following summer with Les Hansen up at the state office. That was back in 1986, so it's been a while. So some of you may know us as Ventura County Flood Control District. That was our original name back in 1944 when we were created by state legislation. And then in 2003, we changed our name due to really some change in focus and funding that we were getting to Ventura County Watershed Protection. And then in the early 60s, and I'll show you a photo in a minute, there was a pretty large flood in Beardsley Revlon watershed, and it flooded quite a bit of the watershed. So jointly, we developed a watershed plan for that Beardsley watershed in '63. And here's a photo of the flooding. I just quoted from the work plan. It said during a period of 5 days, there were about 12 inches of precipitation and about 4,000 acres were inundated in the Beardsley Revlon watersheds. So, so that really kicked off probably our most significant joint effort together. I'll zoom in on the next slide, but you can see all these colored segments are all different units of projects that we worked on together. I'm not exactly sure when, but I think it's probably somewhere in the mid to late 70s. The Watershed Protection District created actually a design section specifically for Beardsley and Revlon, and all they did were design sections and put the waiting for money to materialize. And I think I don't know if it was my dad or somebody else, but figured out that if you had a design in September that you could bid out, there might be money at the end of the fiscal year. And we did, I think, a number of these units of work with that kind of funding. Here's
Peter.
Yeah.
Peter, this is Hugh Clabaugh. Hey, sorry about that.
Hey, glad you made it, Hugh.
Yeah, listen, we started the design probably around 75, and yeah, you're correct. We only did the design of the Beardsley and Revlon watersheds at that time, and SCS at that time, they were doing the construction of it. And then I think in late 78, we started doing also the project management on them. It started up on like Revlon 7 or something like that, and then all of the Beardsley watershed. But yeah, your dad was the one that Alex Sheydayi was the one that implemented all of this and made SCS at that time feel comfortable with us doing the construction of all these projects. So that's where it started.
Wonderful.
So yeah, and so you can see on the slide I've got up all the sections and how much money was spent. These are all construction dollars only, so none of the engineering or construction management were included. And so, I mean, we've spent with NRCS federal monies over 50 million, and in wow. 05, I escalated these costs into $05, and it was about 75. So I'm sure if you escalate the cost to today, we're well over 100 million that's been invested in the watershed.
Wow.
Yeah, and I don't think it included the disaster money we received from them. Also, it's funny. Let me regress a little bit, but we were very aggressive in getting money. And what we did is when we did all of our design, we basically had the whole watershed, Beardsley and Revlon watershed designed, or almost designed, where it could almost go out to bid. So at the end of the federal fiscal year, when they had money left over, we would tell them, we would tell NRCS or SCS that time, that, yeah, we had money, we could get these out in a couple weeks. And we would seem to always get these projects out. And it was a great partnership with the agency. And we were very grateful, and they were very grateful, because I'm not sure they would lose the money or what.
Well, it was a great relationship, and we were able to spend money effectively, you know, in large part due to the fact that you guys were ready to go all the time. So that was wonderful.
Here are a couple of photos. This is the Fair Debris Basin Dam. I think Hugh took this photo last weekend. There's
Yeah.
looking downstream at the Beardsley Channel. I've got a bunch of construction photos that I can show. Here's LA Avenue Drain Unit 2. This is the last section that we built back in 05. It's kind of a fun photo with the construction workers taking a break, eating some lunch in the channel. Excavation, you can see the subgrade with the, you know, we've got material there for the subdrain, and then they're laying steel there in the background. There's another photo of that. Here's their, we got some, placing some concrete on an invert and a junction structure together with this, the steel construction workers laying some steel. And I think we're right about ready to put in the subdrain pipe after the box was cast. We got then backfilling the size of the pipe. And then this was an interesting project because which we don't do all the time, we do occasionally. We had a fair amount of pavement because we were crossing State Highway 118 right there in Satakoy. Here's the final inspection. We've got, this was probably in 06. Of course, all the NRCS folks, the contractors, some of our maintenance workers. Charles, I see Charles in that photo.
Yep.
As Hugh indicated, we've done a lot of watershed projects, emergency watershed program projects over the years. Probably even before they didn't call it that program in '78. I don't think it was called WP back then. But this is just a sampling of the work that we've done together. Bank action projects in Cassis Springs and White Oak Acres. Clean up.
I recognize a lot of those names.
Well, you know, Bill, as you recall, one of the more interesting projects was Adams and Fagan debris basins. We basically designed those in probably 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Both of them. And we had them out to bid and probably under construction within a month. And at that time, we had 200-year storms back to back.
Wow.
In February and March. So it was very challenging for both us and you. I remember feeding you structural calcs on that intake basin, and this was on a Sunday or something. We were trying to get it out, and you'd either approve it or disapprove it, not have to go back to the structure. So it was that was so challenging. I mean, and we really worked great together. And it shows you how fast you can get a project out if you really put your mind to it. And they were really good projects. They really helped out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember a story my dad was telling me. I don't know if it was one of those basins, but I remember him telling me about taking some plans home and actually sketching out in pencil the grading of one of the basins, and then bringing it back in the next morning, and having draftsmen make it more official. But this was all, you know, very early CAD or pre-CAD, you know, so
Yeah, it was.
a
Yeah.
lot of it was done by hand. There's the
Yeah.
Santa Paula Airport project. This is a big one. It's a private airport, but they do provide fueling for public helicopters that are used during disaster events. So this was a critical infrastructure in the county. There's some close-up photos of the damage. You can see in the background that the runway was almost completely lost right there at one point. And we got, of course, happens with these projects, you know, it was the politicals that kind of got things moving. I think Elton Galgley had a hand in getting NRCS to prioritize some money. And we had to do this in a couple of phases. We started with an emergency authorization where we filled in the areas that were lost, and then just put in the pipe drainage that went through that fill, but weren't able to put in all of the bank protection that we wanted to. So we bid out in late 2005 a contract, and then had to basically work through the winter of 06 before we could really later in 06 get the rock riprap in. And one of the requirements, because it wasn't really one of our facilities, it's privately owned. The regulatory agencies insisted on us planting the bank protection, and the airport was okay with that. So we did a lot of willow cuttings, and it really filled in nicely. This is kind of a overhead shot. You know, that's not one nice thing about working with an airport. In those days, that was sort of pre-drone, but you know, if you wanted an aerial, they would give it to you, no questions asked. You know, they would go up. In fact, I think the picture of Santa Paula Creek we got from them. It's another really difficult project. No 5 Ventura River bank protection. These were putting in a set of large veins, like different, a little bit different than Santa Paula Creek. Really large material, 6-ton rock riprap. You know, with just solid rock riprap vein. So, you know, 6-ton, you can't get too many stones in one. And that presented also a challenge for us because we needed to basically give some instructions inspectors on how to determine whether we were meeting spec or not. And so we worked with the state office to give us some guidance on, you know, taking some measurements and with some equations, determining what the rock size would be, and, you know, showing that we were meeting the 6-ton D50 requirement. And here's one of those installed. Just a couple of upcoming projects. We've got a grant for the final unit of the Beardsley project. We thought we were done in 05 or 06 with LA Avenue, but we decided that we really needed a better access to the dam, debris dam. And we had a section of channel that was in pretty bad shape. Along the ditch, just for whatever reason, it wasn't in the original work plan in '63, but we were able to modify the work plan, and we were able to get money for design from NRCS, and that should be going out to bid probably in the next 2 months. So we'll be in construction this summer. And then just the last slide here. This is an RCPP. I don't know if any of you know of this program. It's called a Regional Conservation Partnership Program. At the end of 2020, over $6 million grant application for a project in Ventura River called the Matilli Dam Ecosystem Restoration Project. It's a dam removal at its core, but you know, includes a lot of levees and a couple bridges and some water diversion project. And so we've got a bunch of different components, including some on-farm conservation work, but including in that work plan, 3 levees and a water diversion facility.
We never
Anyways,
run out of work, do we, Peter?
no, we don't. If we're successful, we'll be continuing on with working together. But hopefully we'll find out in the next couple of months if
Yeah.
that application meets everybody's approval. Anyway, so that's my presentation.
Thank you, Peter. Wonderful. Wonderful. Where's Hugh Clabaugh? I don't see your picture there, Hugh. You might have to look at your video. There's it should be like a little camera or something like that. I think you're.
Yeah, I see it, and then I press on it, but it still says unfortunately, I'm kind of I don't do this very much.
You're not alone, my friend.
I try to avoid all this stuff.
Can you see the rest of us?
It takes away from the fun I'm having being retired.
Can you see the rest of us?
I can see you guys. Yeah, I saw the
good.
presentation. Yeah, I
Well,
saw everything. It's great. Peter, that was a great presentation.
It was, Peter. Thank you so much. And
I'm going to back out. I had to head to another meeting I got to get to, but it was
Okay.
nice seeing all of you. And thank you for all your years of service. It's been
absolutely, Peter. I mean, Hugh, thank you
trip.
so much. I was telling these guys, Hugh, that you're also great to work with. When I called you up the other day, and we haven't talked to you in years, and it was just like old times.
Oh yeah, yeah. We
Connected.
had great times together. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was so much fun.
Thank you, Peter, so much.